Hi, this is Kevin, and welcome to my tutorial on recovering from problems with Anaconda Navigator. So it's the spring of 2023, and we're kicking off two courses I'm teaching that are Python based. And in each of them, we've installed Anaconda, and we've tried to use Anaconda Navigator to create the Anaconda virtual environment that we're going to be using for the course. And just a handful of people are having trouble in getting Anaconda Navigator to do everything that they want it to do. In some cases, they haven't been able to create a virtual environment at all. In some cases, they've been able to create a virtual environment with just Python in it, but they haven't been able to add any further packages. So the workaround for that kind of situation um, is to use Anaconda from the command line. Okay, so that's what we're going to do here. And I'm going to be making one tutorial video here for both Mac OS and Windows. So please, um, the experience is a little different on each, but I'll try to point out the differences. Okay. Okay, so I'm going to begin with Mac OS because I'm not going to move over to Windows and do all the work there. On Mac OS, the way that you work with Anaconda at the command line, and the way you work with anything at that command line is open up a terminal. Okay, and on my machine, we've already created an icon for the terminal in the dock, and we could just click on that. Or if you don't have one there yet, you could go over to this Launchpad, and then you could pick on you could pick other, the group other, and then you would click terminal. Okay, and that's going to open up the terminal. And if you don't have a terminal in your dock, you can right click on it in the dock and you can pick options and keep in dock, in which case it'll keep it in the dock. Okay, and the type is a little small here, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to hit, what am I going to do? I'm going to do Shift Command Plus to make the type bigger. Okay, that's what I do on the Mac. And I can tell that I have Anaconda installed because uh, these parens with the word base in front of it indicate that Anaconda is installed and the base environment is activated. That's not the environment that we want to use for either of our courses, but that's okay. All right. If you don't see this, that means you don't have Anaconda installed and you've got to back up and go play the tutorial for installing Anaconda. Or if you tried that and it didn't work, well then I guess you need to see me and or the TA to get some help because you're even more stuck than this video is supposed to solve. Okay? All right, so that's the command line here on the Mac, and that's all we're going to do on the Mac. Now we're going to go over to Windows, and how do we work with command line on Windows? Well, there actually are two command interpreters on Windows. There's one, the old style one called uh, CMD or command. That's the one that I'm going to use. And then there's a new one as well. And uh, Where do you find these? Well, you click on the start icon and then you go up to all apps. And then again, if you've installed Anaconda, you're going to see that Anaconda is installed here. And the new, the newly styled command line is called PowerShell, and the old school one is called well, they're just calling it prompt, but it's the command. Um, and that's the one that I'm going to show here. Now, if in fact you try this traditional command line and it's not working, I did have a student for whom this was happening yesterday. Then we went back and we tried the PowerShell, and that seemed to work. So, um, but I'm going to work with the command line. Okay. Um, if you don't already have an icon for this down in the taskbar, well, you can right click on it, go to more, and you would pick pin to taskbar. Now mine's already there, so I'd be undoing it. Okay, and now I'm going to go down to the bottom, and here's my Anaconda prompt. I'm going to open it up. And again, the way to know that you have Anaconda properly installed here is that in the parens in the beginning, it's going to say base, which means that Anaconda is installed and that the base virtual environment is activated. And if you don't have this, then you probably don't have Anaconda properly installed, and you've got bigger problems than we're trying to fix here. Okay, now we're going to be working with Anaconda at the command line. The Anaconda folks call it Conda, uh, and they have a cheat sheet for working at the command line, and I'm going to show you how to find it. Okay, so you can just get your browser up like I have here, and you can type in Conda cheat sheet. Okay, and then enter. And the very first entry that I got on Google is this Conda cheat sheet, and it's at the Conda site. So let's look at that. And here it is. Okay, and then I can download it. And if I look at the bottom, it usually has the version. And yeah, if I make this a little bigger, you'll see that the version is cheat sheet version 4.3.24. I think that's the latest version. No, I could be wrong. Maybe that's not the latest version. Let's go. What's the other one that I have? I have one up on another one. And I've got 4.14.0 on the other side, and this one is only 4.3. So maybe this one's a little bit old. Let's look. Let's try cheat sheet. All right. And this one, yeah, 4.14.0. So that's the one you want. The commands that we're using are not really different between 4.3 and 4.14, but it's always good to download the most recent one. So download it. Okay. All right. So now I'm just going to pull over the cheat sheet that I have. Okay. And all the commands that I'm going to be using here can be found on the cheat sheet. Okay, so I didn't invent them, or I don't remember them by heart. I resort to the cheat sheet. Okay, and another thing I want to point out is that uh, typically I encourage students to use the Anaconda Navigator. An Anaconda Navigator is the kind of graphical user interface for working with Conda. But I don't think that it really does any of the work itself. I think that it really does is it runs the user interface, and when it figures out what kind of command it wants to issue, uh, it just it pops up a connection to the operating system, and puts these kinds of commands in. Okay, so even if you've been using the Conda Navigator, uh, these commands are probably what's been going on under the covers. Do I know that for an absolute fact? I don't, but I'm 99.999% sure. Okay, so the first thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to want to see if you already have virtual environments that have been created. So how do you do that? Well, you type conda space env space list. Okay, and I know I don't have any here. Oh, I have two here. I have E for Trainer Django course and E for Trainer Python course. Okay, now um, I'm going to show you how to generate these. So let me get rid of the ones that are here. Okay, so there is a command called remove. Okay, so I'm just going to type it in. I'm going to type conda remove, and then for some reason that's hyphen n dash n space, and then the name of the virtual environment. So the first one I want to get rid of, E4 Trainer uh, Python course. Okay, and then at the very end of this, I have a dash dash all. So I press enter, and it does a little thinking. And I ran this earlier, okay, on this particular Windows virtual machine. So it seems to be responding faster because it's probably pulled down the copies of things that it has to pull down. You also probably run slower than this, okay? Do I want to proceed? Y, enter. And it asks me, do I really want to make changes? I'm going to click yes. And then it asks me again because it didn't believe me, so I click yes. And one difference is on the Mac, again, the exact look of what's coming up in this command line or terminal window, it's pretty similar between Mac and Windows, but not exactly the same. But the overall flow is the same, okay? The Mac isn't inclined to pop up the windows and ask you if you really meant to make the change that you just asked it to do. That that little gem is a Windows specialty. And as usual with these kinds of things, just when I get to the point where I think that I should put you on pause, this is going to come back, and yeah, it's going to come back and say it's done. Okay, so how do I confirm that it's been removed? Well, I can just type conda env list again, and you can see that I've got the base and I have E for Trainer Django course. That's my IS 439. But not E for Trainer Python course, IS 430, so that's good. So let's get rid of the one for the Django course. So I'm gonna type conda remove hyphen n E4 Trainer Django course dash dash all. Okay, and again, this went a little faster because I did this previously too. So now I give it a Y enter. and it'll probably take a similar length of time. And how fast these things take have to do with how fast your computer is, how fast your connection is, and how busy the repository is on the other end. So it's not uh, as predictably the same amount of time as you're seeing here. Okay, and that's come back. So let's uh, check which ends we have. Conda end list, and it's going to tell us we only have the base. Okay, and that's what's currently activated because that's what's in the parens on the left side of the command line prompt. Okay, so how do we create a virtual env from the command line? Well, in on the Conda cheat sheet, if we just come over here, where were we? Environment management. We just did the Conda remove, okay, and now we're going to do a Conda create. Okay, and as you can see, you can specify the version of a package that you want. So uh, for Python, we're saying Python equals uh, 3.10, which is what we're using in the current spring 2023 semester. Okay, so we're going to type in conda create and then dash n and then the name E4 trainer Python course. Okay, and we're not done yet because we want a particular version of Python. So we're going to type in Python equals 3.10 and no intervening spaces. It's not Python, um, you know, it's not uh, a space after Python or those kinds of things. It's all run together. Okay. Okay, and now enter. And it's going to do some thinking. And again, I've recently executed this on the current machine. So the the files for this have been recently downloaded. And so this is running faster on mine than it's going to run on yours. And so now I want to do a Y enter. And it's going to do the work. So those of you who have succeeded in the past of getting a Conda Anaconda Navigator work, this is probably what's going on underneath. It's just what we see here. Okay, so let's confirm that we have this conda env list. Okay, well that looks good. If we want to work with E4 Trainer Python course, we have to activate it. So conda space activate space E4 Trainer Python course. Okay, and you see it come up on the left-hand side in the prompt. So how do we find out what packages are in that virtual env right now? Well, we can use the list command, conda space list. Okay, and you can see that we've got, among other things, Python 3.10.9, which is just what we want in the spring 2023 semester. Now, if you're doing this in a future semester, perhaps perhaps we're already working on Python 3.11. Well, whatever I say we're using, that's what you ask for. Okay. Now, uh, the other thing that we include in the Python course, in my 430 course, is at the very end of the course, we work with Jupyter notebooks. So we need to install the Jupyter package. Okay. So how do we do that? Well, first you have to activate it. Okay. And then once it's activated, we can type conda install space Jupyter, Jupyter, enter. And do we want to proceed? Why, enter. And just when you think you've waited long enough that you should, um, oh, do we want to update it? Yes, we do. Is it going to ask us again? Nope, that's it. Yeah, and there we go. Just when I ran out of patience, that's there. Okay, so we still have active E for Trainer Python course, but do we have the Jupyter packages? Well, let's just look. Type in conda list, enter, and well, we have a lot more things, but when we get up to Jupyter, we see that we do have this Jupyter meta package and all the other Jupyter packages. That's just what we want. And if we want to look at Python again, just to convince ourselves that hasn't changed, we've got 3.10.9. So that's everything that we want. Okay. And if you're in my 430 course, uh, you're done. You've recovered from not being able to use Anaconda Navigator. Okay. But what if you're in the 439 course and you're trying to create a virtual environment that we can use in that course where we're using Django? Well, now we're just going to have to create another one. Okay. So we're going to go back and do a conda create. So conda create dash n. Okay. E for trainer Django course, because that course is based on Python and Django. Okay. And then we have to ask for a particular Python. And again, in the current semester, we're using 3.10. In another semester, we might already be up to 3.11. Whatever I said you need, that's what you ask for. So this semester, we're saying Python equals 3.10. Enter. And okay, good. And that's going fast because we've done it before. Um, these files are recently downloaded, so it's not trying to download them again. So we give it a Y enter, and it's going to do the work. And that's it. So let's see if we can see it. Let's say type in conda env list, and there's E for trainer Django course. All right. Now, I think it is possible to deactivate a virtual environment, but there's only one active at a time. So um, what we're going to do is we're just going to activate the one for the Django course. So we're going to type in conda activate E4 trainer Django course. Enter. And there it is. Now we've created the virtual env with the right version of Python, but we shouldn't see Django yet. So let's just do a conda list to confirm that. Yeah, so we can see we've got Python 3.10.9, which is the one that we're using in the current semester, but no Django. Okay, so what are we going to do? So uh, we've activated E4 Trainer Django course, so now we can install Django. So we can type in conda install Django equal 4.1. Enter. And that looks fine. Let's give that a Y. Enter. And again, in the current semester, we're using Django 4.1. In a later semester, we might be using Django 4.2 or 4.3 or 4.5. Whatever we're using, that's what you ask for. Okay, and now we have to confirm that's all installed by typing conda list. And here we go, and we can see we've got Django 4.1. So that is it. Okay, and again, if we want to see both of the ends there, we can type conda env list. Oh, I didn't quite type what I wanted. Env list. There we go. And a thing that I didn't point out before is if you have to go chasing after these virtual envs and know where their directories are, well, that's right in the listing. And the other thing that's in the listing is the asterisk here that says what's currently activated. So you can see that currently activated here is E4 Trainer Django course. Okay, so you now have whatever virtual envs you need for whichever course you're taking in the current semester. And you ought to be able to go on and work with PyCharm Professional to create your project and to hook it up with the virtual env. Okay, so I'm going to sign off here and say bye until next time. Bye bye.